are very, very welcome. I am Ahonu, and on behalf of my lovely wife, Aingeal, we want to present to you today, End Procrastination Forever. Finally, how to stop putting things off and how to get rid of time-sucking distractions and get more done. Now, we need to begin by telling you a tiny bit about us, but you must know also that this is not something that we like to do. We like to place the attention on you rather than us. But it is an important thing to realize that we are coming at procrastination from experience. We've had to deal with it for a long, long time, and we ended up writing a book about it. So this is what we want to show you, that you can gain invincible clarity through our coaching. In fact, it made us rewrite our taglines over the last number of weeks, and we did have invincible clarity through professional publishing and cool coaching. And then we went to many published books, but we publish you. And then we tried to summarize it by saying we coach, we consult, we create, we design, we provide, we publish, we teach. But what we found was most of all, we empower. And what we mean by that is that as authors and artists and speakers and publishers and ministers and radio hosts and spiritual teachers, Aingeal Rose and I have combined a 60-year journey of consciousness, and that helps you to experience joy in your life, find your highest career, uncover your life's purpose, and guide your thoughts from mediocre to magnificent. And we've published over 1,100 print books and 500 Kindle books. We've created over 300 YouTube videos, broadcast 360 podcast episodes, and posted over 4,000 profound statements from the Akashic Records. We're telling you this because we had to overcome procrastination in order to achieve these kinds of numbers. And on top of that, while all of that was going on, we ran weekly and monthly coaching calls, and now we cater to thousands of people around the world in their planetary missions that is guided and motivated by the highest degree of love. So that's where we're coming from. And we want to give you an idea of what we're covering today. We're going to look at why we're here and how to end procrastination. We're actually going to deal with that itself. And then we're going to go through a little presentation of how we're going to help you now, today. So let's begin why we're here. Many, many years ago in my home, where I was born in Tipperary in the Republic of Ireland, my family, way back in 1910 and 1920, were involved with the Irish War of Independence. And one of my aunts at the time, as a child, started journaling and writing about that horrific time and what her father was doing, because he was a member of the resistance, let's call it. And she journaled about everyday life and what was going on and how he was eventually captured and incarcerated, and then he blew his way out of the prison and all the drama that went with it. And she called it Under the Stairs. That was the name of her journal, her book. But she never published it. It remained under the stairs for years and years and years. And we do not want that to happen to you, no matter what it is that you're thinking about or what's causing you to procrastinate. We don't want you to remain hidden or that project not be completed or the bucket list not be achieved. So we won't let that happen, that your book will remain under the stairs. The next thing that happened, and why we're here, is because many of you may or may not know, but my first baby died on my birthday. And he died at 4 months old. And thankfully, I was aware enough to journal at the time. And I wrote down every day the trauma and the pain and the sadness and the grief that I was going through. But I didn't realize why I was doing that. I didn't understand what I was doing at the time. All I knew was that this putting down on paper was helping to heal the grief. Now, just like my aunt and her book under the stairs, my book, my journal, remained in the attic for 25 years until Aingeal Rose came and rescued me. And she found this manuscript and she said, this has to be published. And with her support and her guidance and her counseling and her coaching, that's exactly what I did. And now that book is available and helping many others on Amazon in print book and in ebook format. And it's available around the world, called The Reincarnation of Columbus. Do take a look at it. Now, the reason why we're here also is because we want to go through the steps and how to overcome procrastination, what to do. So what we've done is we've broadly broken down lessons from a book that we published called End Procrastination Now. And that's how that book came about too, because we were getting so many questions from people over the years about why do I always procrastinate? Why am I stopping myself? Why am I feeling blocked? How come I can't achieve this? And so on. So we started to journal ourselves and we put together this little book called End Procrastination Forever. And it's out of this book that we're going to give you these little steps now that hopefully will be able to help you in this short presentation today. And we're going to go through 12 short little lessons and then into a further 12 after that. So let's begin. The first thing is set detailed long-term goals. Now, I remember rebelling against this first also because I thought, okay, this is now going to commit me to something. And I realized that that's exactly what procrastination is. We're afraid that something will commit us and thereby we can't get out of it. And then if we don't do it, we'll be a failure. And we understood spiritually what was going on. This is all a setup for us to be guilty all the time about something. If you're not guilty about this, you'll be guilty about that. So we tackled it and we found that the best way is to set a long-term goal. And that might be, I'm going to build my house in 2020 or whatever it might be. Or I'm going to write that book, or I'm going to get married. I'm going to ask her or him to marry me. I'm going to, whatever the target is, write it down, but also put a time frame on it. And that time frame is very, very important. Otherwise, it can end up being a vague wish. Like, I want to make $1 million. Yes, but when and how and all of that. So we've got to put a time frame on it. And that commits us. And that's actually a good thing. And we're going to go through how that will be of help to you as we go through and we step through this presentation. So the time frame helps us to complete the goal. Why? Because it sets up what we call milestones. And I don't know if you were ever on a long walk and somebody said, well, when you reach such and such a marker, you know you're halfway there. These are milestones. And in the same way, if you were on a marathon, you'll see they put up little signs saying mile 20, keep going, you're almost there, mile 21. And they're milestones between your current position right now and your final goal. And some people may argue that, well, that's what defeats me because I see so much ahead and I've only gone so far that I feel I'll never be able to reach those other milestones. But we can answer that for you too. So stay tuned. There are solutions to that. What you do is you break down your long-term milestones into smaller weekly steps. And that helps you by simply giving you the satisfaction that you are achieving something even though you haven't arrived at the big milestone yet, or you haven't yet arrived at the final outcome. So it's a good thing to do to break down each of these things you're going to do between the milestones. And they become little markers also for you to celebrate. The next thing we want to do is we want to set aside a certain amount of time each day to work on your goals. Again, some people find this a very difficult thing to do. And I'll tell you What struck me very sharply many years ago was when I was learning to meditate. And I remember the meditation teacher at the time said to me, you've got to set aside 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening to meditate. And I bounced back real quick and I said, I can't do that. I don't have 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening to do that. I've got too many commitments. I've got my meetings start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she said to me, make the first meeting with yourself. Make the first meeting with yourself. Once she said that, I realized that that is exactly the solution. If I hadn't meditated, or if I didn't feel good, how was I going to be at my best to meet the next person? So immediately I set aside that first meeting for myself in the morning. And in that way, we suggest to you to set aside that little period of time to work on your goals. Why? Because if you don't do that, this very, very first step, it's like stepping up to the starting line in a long walk or a marathon or putting your pen to paper to begin that book, whatever it is. You have to set aside that piece of time for you. You're the most important person in all of this. So give yourself this little piece of time and work upon your goals during that period of time. The next thing you want to do is you got to make that a priority. Like, for example, using the transcendental meditation example that I gave you, there'd be very little point in me creating a meeting for somebody else first and then say, oh, my meeting is going to be for myself and my meditation is going to be at 12 noon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at which point you're really not at your best. So make your own goals, your own little meeting time with yourself. Make that a priority. And during this goal time, ensure that you aren't using social media or other distractions. Because if you catch yourself, it's an important thing now to refocus without guilt. And I mentioned guilt earlier on because that's a key factor in us not achieving our goals or in allowing procrastination to come back in. Oh, I got to watch the news. For example, right now, there's something going on in the next room where a friend of ours is watching an important television announcement. But I am here for you right now. I could very easily say, oh, I got to go and watch that. That's an important thing for me to watch. But it's not more important than you. And your goals and your time aside for your goal time is the most important thing for you right now. So always ensure you do that. Now, if you do get distracted, because life happens, refocus without guilt. If you find out that you are procrastinating, make sure that you do identify why you're doing it and actively try to prevent it. What that means is, say you decide, I want to go and watch that TV program. And you come back and you say, I watched it now. Did it help me? Did it really advance my goals in any way? Perhaps yes, maybe you learned something. But it might be more important to focus in on, like, was I tired? Had I done enough with my goals that day? Was I just trying to avoid my goals? Did I think that program was more important than me writing out my goals or working my way through them? So if you can zero in and narrow down why, you'll find then, there's that issue coming up again. I'm not going to allow that to distract me just now. So these are just little pointers. They're not cast in stone. So just use them as little means to refocus all the time without guilt. The next thing we want to do is we want to create a little checklist, a weekly checklist, and place it somewhere prominent in your home so that you're constantly being reminded what you need to be doing. Now, this may not be important for smaller things, or you might decide that that's not important for bigger things either. For example, let's say your big goal was to climb Mount Everest, or it was to travel to Bali. Okay, that would be foremost in your mind all of the time because you're being reminded of it. Oh, I've got to get my passport organized. I've got to get my travel insurance. I've got to get this. They're all your milestones. But you may not need to write those down because you know they're so high in your priority list that they don't necessarily become checklist items. But we would say to you, do write them down because there's a satisfaction that comes from checking off these things. Done, done, done. And you can handwrite them, or you can use many of these multiple possibilities that are available online now to help you be more efficient, like Todoist.com and various other online checklists and to help you get these things done. But the whole idea is that you're checklisting them, you're checking them off. Now, just last week, in preparation for this presentation today, I heard somebody saying that they found that whole idea of the checklists and the milestones to be counterproductive because there might be, let's say, 100 things to do before you can check something off. Now, that's because you're making the milestone too big. And like, for example, a milestone might be, all right, I want to write 10 books in a series, and your first milestone will be write book 1. But to write book 1 might take you a year, 2 years, or whatever it might take. So you won't be checking that off anytime soon. So what you need to do is break all of those further down into smaller pieces that become manageable and that you can check off. Like, for example, you can say, write the first chapter of chapter 1 in book 1. And in that way, you're able to feel that you've accomplished something because that reward for yourself is very, very important. Okay. The next thing that's a good thing to do is to inform your family, and I would say, and your friends about your goal time because they will recognize and respect that and leave you so that not to distract you during that period of time. But the other thing that your friends and your family will do is they'll keep you on task. They will constantly remind you, how's that book going, or how's that trip to Bali going, or how's your house cleaning going, or whatever it is that you've set yourself as your goals. They will constantly remind you, and that's a good thing. So they'll respect you and you'll respect them. Now, here's another thing that we found it was important to put in here in this reminder of ending procrastination forever. And that is, recognize that we're all fearful about moving towards our goals. You are not alone. I know that I found that very comforting because there are times when you do feel alone on your goals and working towards your ambitions or whatever you're working towards. And you may feel very isolated. But the reason is because everything around us can be fear, and some people move through fear. They use fear as a motivator, and everybody's fearful about something. So recognize that we're all fearful about moving towards our goals. What will it mean when I do that TED talk? What will it mean when I'm standing in front of a crowd? What if I slip up? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I slur my words? What if I stumble? What if I get sick on the day? All of these things are based on fear. So remember, you're not alone. We're going to help you move through them. Now, we want also to create a list of the reasons why you want to achieve your goal and place that next to your weekly checklist. That's the reminder why you're doing it. Now, lately we've found that a lot of people who do presentations, just like I'm doing now, will always put their why way up front, and they'll put up a picture of their children, for example, and they'll say, they are my why. Or I often say to Aingeal, Rose, you are my why. And put your why beside your goal. It's an important reminder of what to use to motivate you to keep going. Because if you've got something very important like that, like, for example, when Aingeal Rose pointed out to me about my book, the reincarnation of Columbus. She pointed out that how that had helped me recover and how that same book should be out there in the marketplace so that other people can be helped. And I've got so many emails from people in the past who've said that that book has really saved them. So it's important to have your why upfront and close to your weekly checklist. Another good thing that we always advocate is visualization, and we call it manifesting. Sometimes they're rolled into one. They're all part and parcel of the same thing. If you visualize yourself completing your goals every day, you are actually manifesting it. You're bringing it from the thought process, from the mind field into manifestation, into this world. So visualize yourself in Tenerife, in Bali. Visualize yourself with your finished book in your hand. Visualize yourself standing on the stage, giving that presentation, giving that TED talk, whatever your goal might be. Visualize yourself doing it. That way you're grounding it into the here and now. It's a very, very important thing to do. And it's part of Aingeal Rose's manifesting classes too. Keep track of your progress to remind yourself about how far you have come and reward and motivate yourself to keep going. This kind of progress tracking is a super way to motivate yourself, because it's like when you're at mile 18 on the marathon, you say, well, I know I'm really wiped out, I'm tired, but you've come so far that it doesn't make sense to give up now. So keep that progress as a reminder of how far you've come and reward yourself. Always reward yourself. It's time to go out for a meal now. It's time to celebrate. It's time to have that little glass of wine. It's time to go to the movies. I've done so well. Reward yourself. Make an active effort to improve your attitude towards work, towards self-improvement, and towards productivity. We have heard people talk to us many times about moving away from mediocrity. In fact, Aingeal Rose has talked about it many times. And in the Akashic Records, she has got guidance from Source about moving away from mediocrity. And we advise always go towards magnificence. And that's one way to measure your goals. Ask yourself, will this goal help me move towards my own magnificence? And if the answer is yes, you nailed it. Go for it. If it doesn't, don't do it. It's a simple test. You can ask the same question in another way. Will this make me happy? Now, this is also what's happening in the world and in general, at large. People are downsizing and decluttering because they're saying, does this help me move towards magnificence? Does that collection of whatever, or does this clutter help me? And if the answer is no, move instead towards magnificence. Another thing, we have many people on our mailing list who mail us all the time about 4G and 5G and the interference of technology. So if you can, work in an area away from your television and from other technology. Now, these days, it's becoming more and more difficult. So I'm not asking you to do the impossible. Indeed, we have to use technology to bring this presentation to you. So work within the limits of your environment. But in terms of keeping your space clean and being clearly focused on your goal, we would say work in an area where you won't be interrupted or where you won't get ringing in your ears, or you feel peace and you feel supported by nature. So choose your location wisely in that sense. This might seem unnecessary, but it comes up all the time as a reminder to keep yourself healthy and hydrated. Why? Because it helps your concentration and it allows you to work more efficiently. And the last thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is to focus on one task at a time. I know I'm guilty of not doing that. I have multiple tasks going at the same time. And I know women can do this a lot easier than men. But what it does, I know from my own experience, is it doesn't get anything completed. So focus on one task at a time. And it's one of the things that I'm going to be helping you do as we go forward in this presentation. I'm going to help you to focus on one task at a time. So how do we do that? How do we end procrastination forever? Well, we've gone through several pointers that help you in terms of here's how to do it. But what you can also do is you can get the book that we wrote, and it's called End Procrastination Forever. You can get it from Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, and from over 38,000 retailers around the world. It's only $2.99 and $9.97 for the print book. So the $2.99 is for the Kindle version, the ebook version of it. So that's a very inexpensive way to get the pointers that I've just spelled out to you. And the link to get that is on the screen, but I'll spell it out. It's amzn.to/2kycx7l. And if you were to click on that link or go to that link, you will find you'll be able to buy the book on Amazon. Now, there's something else I'm going to introduce to you in a few minutes. And it's why I wanted to put that slide up here about 38,000 retailers around the world, because we've got a little surprise coming up for you. So this is the book that we wrote. It's called End Procrastination Forever. And we found that we had to multi-purpose it. So in other words, it became a CD, it became an ebook, a Kindle book, a print book. It became downloadable. And then we also broke it into checklists and mind map and so on. And that was also very, very helpful to people. So we'd like to be able to show you how to do this kind of thing for you as well. But more importantly, we want to show you how this end procrastination has worked for some of our clients. And we're going to give you an example that we call the ABC coaching example. Why? Because a few weeks ago, we asked people on our list and in our environment, we asked, do you have a book in you? And a number of people said, no, I don't. I've gone past that, or I thought I did, or whatever. But we found that most people do, but they never get to write it. So what we did was we created a little program called Amazing Book Coaching. And we didn't realize actually that the acronym for that is ABC, because that's exactly what it is. It's the ABC of how to get your book written, edited. What's the other thing we do? Layout. We do the layout, and we do the cover, interior and exterior, front and back cover. And then we do the publishing in this little coaching program called Amazing Book Coaching. But because it was ABC and step by step, we realized that people needed this coaching in order to help them to get through these steps, to achieve these little milestones. And what it has done for those that have subscribed to that Amazing Book Coaching, that we're still in the middle of, by the way, but have a look at what people have achieved so far. They've actually created their front and back covers. If you can see on the screen there, we have several of our clients, our participants. They've already created the covers, and they're already halfway through written their book. Some have their introduction, their foreword, some have completed the table of contents, some have completed several chapters, but the milestones are all there, and they're now beginning to feel the achievement of it. This is what we want for you. Why did we feel that the coaching was necessary? Or let's ask, why did those participants feel the book coaching was necessary? And the reason is because we know from our own experience too that what we learn for free whether online or however, is really just the tip of the iceberg. And then just below the surface of the tip, just under the water, you can learn a huge amount from investing in courses. But the greater part is below the surface. This is what's called the 10 times effect. And what you learn by investing in mentoring and coaching from someone who has already experienced the success that you are seeking and has the tools and the resources that you need, that's what creates success, and that's what creates the 10 times effect. And in what practical ways, I would like to ask you, can coaching help you? Well, it can help you by simply doing brainstorming. It's a beautiful thing. We do it many, many times, brainstorming. It also helps you to be accountable. Why? Because if you said, I'm going to lose 10 pounds next year, it holds you accountable. If you had, for example, milestones that said, well, I'm going to lose 1 pound in January, and then if we were to say to you, or anybody was to say to you, or your family was to say to you, have you lost the 1 pound? Or if you were to come to them full of joy and success and say, I lost 1 pound in January, that's why, because you're being accountable. Also, it gives you guidance. It can challenge you to bring out that magnificence in yourself. It helps you to exceed your comfort zone, because a lot of us can remain forever in our comfort zone. It's nice, it's comfortable, it's easy. But if somebody is pulling you out of that all the time, helping you achieve more, that's what coaching is. It also helps make your ideas a reality. And this is where I know from my own experience with my book, for example, was an idea for 25 years. The book I mentioned earlier on, Under the Stairs, has always remained just an idea. A book remains an idea in most people's minds until they die, and it never becomes a reality. So it makes your ideas real. Now, it also provides unbiased opinions and suggestions, and that is a fabulous thing because it's coming from somebody who has experience being where you are, knowing what you're feeling, knowing what you're going through, and is able to give you that guidance with the tools and the knowledge. And all of that leads to motivation. And when you have that motivation, it's like nothing will stand in your way. And the final reason for coaching is because it gets you there faster. I know if I had had a coach at that time for my book, it wouldn't have taken 27 years or 25 years. I know from our students now who are achieving what they're achieving in record time. Why? Because the coaching helps them get there faster. So with that in mind, I want to introduce with great joy the launch of our focused laser coaching for ending procrastination forever. And what this is, it's unlimited 15-minute focus sessions for a whole year with me. Now, I'm going to say that again because this is unheard of. Unlimited 15-minute focused coaching sessions with me for a whole year so that you complete your field work, you get things done, and then you book the next session, unlimited, and you also get recordings of every session. And what does this do? Keeps you focused and keeps you motivated and keeps you taking action. And what format does this take? Well, we're going to start with a 30-minute call that sets the stage. And what that does is it uncovers what it is that you feel has been blocking you, that thing that you're looking to end procrastination with, what you've been putting off, what's been standing in your way. We will uncover what that is. And then we're going to find that could be the same thing. What keeps you procrastinating is what I'm saying, is we're going to uncover what that is. And we're going to find out then what is that final outcome that you want, that you don't have now. and we want to find out the results that you have that you don't want, because equally that can be something you're procrastinating about. We're going to stand side by side with you all the way for a whole year so that you know every step what your next action is. Now, I mentioned unlimited calls, and that seems off the charts, but it's true. Unlimited calls. Also, we're going to give you unlimited access to me via email. I want to clarify the unlimited calls. Let me backtrack just for a second. The unlimited calls. You can only book the next call once you've done your homework for the first time. So that's an important little caveat, and that's to keep you accountable and keep you moving forward. Unlimited emails and 1 year of coaching for only $84 a month. Now, if you were to go off and do a little bit of research and find out what coaching costs, you will find that you will be paying thousands and thousands of dollars. Indeed, people we know are charging $1,000 an hour or $1,000 per call, sometimes even $10,000. So just take this into account. The absolutely incredible offer that I'm making to you now, 1 year of unlimited coaching for $84 a month. My next slide, I was hesitant about putting it up because it asks, who is this not for? And Aingeal, Rose and I, we do not like when somebody goes into the negative to try and make a point. So that's why I couldn't take it out. Well, I could have taken it out, but I crossed it out because, this is not for people who are not committed, all of that kind of stuff. We're not going to go there because we feel the reason that you're here at all is because you want to do something about procrastination. You want to know how to end procrastination forever. So we know that you are serious and you are committed and you want to do something about it. So instead of going for the negative, I put up some points that say that this is for you if you want to fix procrastination problems now and you're willing to make that investment in yourself and you're willing to take action now and you're serious about getting those results and you want to get those results now. So don't procrastinate. This is one of the major traps that we have found is when the opportunity presents itself, please don't procrastinate. I want only 10 people because this is unlimited, as you know. I want 10 people who want to get 12 months of my focused laser coaching to end procrastination in your life forever. And the successful applicants will get full unlimited coaching at a 60% discount, which saves over $1,200. So I want to just go back over what you're going to get for this. I put thousands of dollars worth of personal coaching because I don't think there's a limit to it. It is worth thousands of dollars. And if you were to go out and check what the comparable cost of coaching is, you would be shocked. But you're also going to get the book that I mentioned, End Procrastination Forever. You're going to get the checklist, the cheat sheet, the mind maps, and unlimited access to me. So there you have it. Focused laser coaching, unlimited for 1 year. So you'll get it today. Don't procrastinate. The link to go to is plu.ug/L/9REM. And I will put it live on the link and I will email it to you. So I appreciate you being with us today. I thank you for spending the time with me and I wish you blessings from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal.